I learned early that hunger has a sound, a thin hiss inside an empty stomach that tries to argue with your pride. In the neighborhood where I grew up, pride was a luxury item with a shiny label and no price tag. My mother stitched uniforms in a back room that smelled of steam and detergent. My father vanished with a suitcase and a promise, leaving behind unpaid notices that fluttered like angry birds on the kitchen table. I became the household accountant before I could properly spell the word. I memorized which bills could wait, which could not, and which could be negotiated with a polite voice and a stubborn soul. School was not where I felt safe, but it was warm in winter and had a library in the afternoon. I studied like every page was a rung on a ladder. That ladder carried me to a state college and then to the city, where the buildings looked carved out of ambition. I collected credentials, then collected disappointment. Recruiters praised my grit and chose candidates whose parents owned matching suits and matching opinions. When the rent rose again, I did what survival demanded. I took the night shift as a janitor at Brightwell Dynamics, a glossy tower that praised innovation while leaving fingerprints on every polished surface. My uniform was gray, my name tag plastic, and my cart was a rolling confession that people noticed me only when the trash overflowed. I learned the architecture of power by the stains it left behind. The corner offices shed coffee rings like crown jewels. The conference rooms held crumbs of catered lunches, and the break room held gossip that stuck to the air like syrup. I did not clean with resentment. I cleaned with precision. I fixed a broken soap dispenser before anyone reported it. I replaced a flickering hallway light that made people look tired. I even rescued a hard drive someone had tossed, labeling it for the technology team instead of letting it vanish into a dumpster. A facilities manager named Ron Dax noticed. Ron had a talent for seeing what others ignored. One early morning, when the hallways were quiet and the office smelled of fresh wax, he stopped me near the reception area. "You know this building better than most of the people who get paid to run it," he said. I kept my tone light. "I know where the leaks are." Ron grinned. "I mean the leaks that talk." While I emptied bins, I also overheard project names, client tantrums, and the half-whispered panic of people who believed walls were loyal. I did not repeat secrets, but I remembered patterns. Ron, in his practical way, believed patterns were valuable. Soon after, human resources slid a form across a table. They needed a temporary receptionist. The previous one had quit in a blaze of passive-aggressive emails. Ron had recommended me. Receptionist meant a desk, not a mop. It meant daylight, not the lonely hum of fluorescent lights. It meant contact with people who wore confidence like cologne. I signed with a steady hand, even though my heart was sprinting. On my final evening as a janitor, I pushed my cart past the lobby windows and caught my reflection. Gray uniform, tired eyes, chin lifted anyway. I imagined the desk I would sit behind, the phone I would answer, the names I would say without flinching. Then I imagined the faces of the people who would test me. I had been tested my entire life. I was done failing exams I never agreed to take. The reception desk at Brightwell Dynamics was a small island in a sea of glass. I sat behind it with a posture that said I belonged there, even when my nerves insisted otherwise. I wore a simple navy blouse and a badge that read, "Front Desk Coordinator." The title sounded like someone had handed me a megaphone and told me to whisper. My training was brief and suspiciously optimistic. Answer the phone, smile at visitors, log deliveries, notify staff. I absorbed it all. I learned the rhythm of the lobby, the rush of executives arriving in clumps, the hush after they vanished into elevators. I learned that a polite greeting could disarm someone faster than a security guard. People told receptionists things they would never tell their bosses, because the desk felt like furniture, and furniture did not argue. A few days into the job, the revolving doors swung wide, and in walked Celeste Varn, Senior Vice President of Client Strategy, an impressive title for a woman who wore contempt like a designer scarf. She had hair the color of expensive ink, a sharp blazer, and a gaze that scanned the lobby the way a hawk scans a field. Her eyes landed on me and stayed there. Celeste walked to the desk, set a manicured hand on the counter, and smiled without warmth. "Where is your mop?" The words dropped into the lobby like a plate shattering. I felt a flush climb my neck, but I kept my expression steady. "Good morning, Miss Varn. How can I help you today?" Celeste leaned closer. I asked a simple question. "You look lost without your mop." I reached for the visitor log. "If you are meeting someone, I can notify them." Celeste gave a soft laugh that tasted like vinegar. "No, I am not meeting anyone. I am checking on the new face in my lobby. Quality control." I nodded as if she had complimented the carpeting. "Then you have found her. Is there anything I can do for you?" Celeste straightened, eyes narrowing. "Clean up your tone," she said. Then she pivoted and strode toward the elevators, heels clicking like punctuation marks. I watched her go and made a mental note. Celeste Varn did not fear embarrassment. She used it as a hobby. Later, in the quiet after the morning wave, Ron Dax stopped by with a maintenance request. He glanced at me. "You look like you just met a storm in a blazer." I smiled politely. "Just weather." Ron muttered. "That one thinks respect is something you charge interest on." Over the next stretch of days, Celeste drifted through the lobby more often. Sometimes she simply looked at me, as if assessing whether a stain had returned. Other times she offered advice that sounded like an insult dressed as mentorship. "Reception is about service," she said one afternoon. "Service means you do what you are told." I nodded. Understood. Celeste smiled, satisfied by what she assumed was submission. "Excellent. You will fit in." When she left, I opened my drawer and added a new item to my private list, written in neat block letters. Celeste Varn. Pattern. Provokes publicly, expects silence, enjoys spectacle. I did not yet know what form the spectacle would take, but I could feel the stage being built around me, plank by plank, while the audience pretended not to watch. That evening, I rode the bus home with the directory of the building still in my mind. I called my mother and talked about nothing important, because pride still felt expensive. When I hung up, I promised myself that I would not return to invisibility. A week later, Brightwell Dynamics prepared for a visit from a potential partner, a cautious firm that loved polished presentations and hated surprises. The lobby plants were misted until their leaves shone. The conference room chairs were aligned like soldiers. I arrived in the early morning and ran through my checklist: visitor badges, beverage tray, meeting schedule. I was arranging a stack of brochures when Celeste Varn appeared beside the desk, silent as a shadow and twice as cold. "Big day," Celeste said. "Try not to smudge anything." I smiled. "I will do my best not to offend the furniture." Celeste blinked, unsure whether she had been insulted. She recovered quickly, lips curling. "I do like a receptionist with spirit. It makes the fall more entertaining." Then she drifted away, leaving a faint scent of perfume and trouble. Not long after, Kira Sol, a junior executive from Celeste's team, hurried out of the elevator clutching 2 coffees and a folder. Kira was young, brilliant, and permanently apologetic, like someone trained to say sorry before she spoke. She approached the desk with frantic eyes. "Can I set these down here?" Kira asked. "Of course," I said. "Your hands look like they could use a holiday." Kira attempted a laugh, then shifted the cups. The folder slipped, and the coffee surged forward. Dark liquid spilled across my reception desk, soaking brochures, pooling around the keyboard, and splashing onto my blouse and skirt. The heat stung. The shock hit harder. A few employees in the lobby froze, then pretended they had urgent reasons to stare at their phones. Kira gasped. "Oh no, I am so sorry." She grabbed napkins with trembling hands, then stopped, as if someone had yanked an invisible leash. Her eyes flicked toward the elevator bank. Kira whispered, barely audible, "Sorry, she told me to do it." Then she dropped the napkins, clutched the folder to her chest, and ran toward the stairwell. Silence fell, thick and public. I inhaled slowly. I could have chased Kira. I could have shouted, but I had learned that public reactions are gifts to people who crave control. So I began to gather the soaked brochures, stacking them neatly, as if tidying a minor inconvenience. That was when Celeste appeared again, stepping into the reception area with the calm satisfaction of someone arriving right on cue. Her eyes flicked over the mess, then over my damp clothes. A smirk rose like a curtain. "Well, well," Celeste said. "Look at that. A familiar scene." I kept my voice even. "There seems to be a spill." Celeste laughed, loud enough to turn heads. "Do what you are used to and clean it up." The words rang out, cruel and careless. Celeste did not lower her voice. She did not check who might be listening. My eyes went to the small black dome mounted high near the lobby ceiling, the security camera I had noticed on my second day. I also glanced at the newer device near the entrance, a sleek unit Ron had installed after a package theft. That unit recorded audio too. Celeste followed my gaze and shrugged. "Cameras are for criminals, not for me." I pressed the button under the desk to notify facilities. Then I looked back at Celeste with a polite smile that felt like a locked door. "Thank you for your guidance, Ms. Varn," I said. "I will handle it." Celeste turned and walked away, leaving laughter behind her like spilled perfume. I waited until the elevator doors swallowed her. Then I reached for the internal phone list. Not to call for help cleaning, but to call the people who cared about evidence. I called Ron Dax, because Ron understood doors and the way people slam them on others. He arrived with a mop bucket and a look that said he had already heard the punchline. "You look like someone poured a personality disorder on you," Ron said. "Just coffee," I replied. The personality disorder walked away. Ron glanced at the damp brochures, then at the ceiling. "Did the dome catch it?" I nodded once. "And the lobby unit has audio." Ron whistled softly. "That is going to be a fun meeting." While Ron cleaned the floor, I wiped down the desk with careful, deliberate motions. I refused to let Celeste control the narrative. When the surface was dry, I logged the incident in the building maintenance system, a place where small mishaps became official records. I used neutral language, but I did not soften the facts. Then I did something bolder. I went to the stairwell door and waited. Kira returned minutes later, eyes red, hands shaking. She looked ready to be escorted out. I held up a palm. "Breathe. You did not spill your whole career, only my coffee." Kira swallowed. "She told me to do it. She said it would teach you your place. If I refused, she would put me on a performance plan. She has files on everyone." I felt anger flare, sharp and clean, but I kept my voice gentle. "Thank you for telling me." That took courage. Kira stared. "You are not reporting me?" I leaned closer, speaking quietly. "I am reporting the person who ordered you, but I am going to do it correctly, not loudly." I walked Kira to a side bench and offered water. Then I made my next call, this one to Inez Park in corporate compliance, a woman known for smiling while dismantling lies. Inez had the calm voice of a nurse and the instincts of a detective. Inez listened while I described what happened. No exaggeration, no plea for sympathy, just the facts, lined up like evidence on a tray. Inez paused. "We have had concerns about Ms. Varn before. She is careful with emails, but not, it seems, with her mouth." I kept my tone steady. "The cameras recorded audio. Then we will secure the footage," Inez said. "Do not discuss this with her." I ended the call and returned to the desk. I knew Celeste would not sit still. People like Celeste moved fast when they sensed risk. Sure enough, later that day, Celeste strode into the lobby with a grin that looked rehearsed. She leaned over the desk. "Are you still damp, or have you finally dried out?" I smiled. "I am very absorbent." Celeste laughed, pleased. Then her gaze slid to the camera above. For a split second, Something flickered behind her eyes. Calculation. She left quickly. Within an hour, Ron called me from a service corridor. Someone from the executive floor just demanded access to the security closet, he said. Guess who? I did not need to guess. What did you say? Ron snorted. I said no, because I enjoy being employed. She is on her way to try someone else. I looked at the lobby camera again and imagined Celeste hunting for the footage like a cat searching for the bird it should not have chased. Inez must have the clip already, I said. Ron hesitated. Maybe. But she might still try to erase the local copy. I did not feel fear. I felt clarity. Celeste had built her power by making people clean up messes. Now Celeste was about to make her own, and she was not even going to bring a mop. I opened my drawer and pulled out a small notebook. I wrote a final line under her name. Next move, evidence tampering. Then I placed the notebook back, straightened my blouse, and waited for the sound of trouble returning in expensive heels. Trouble returned in expensive heels when the lobby was quiet and the elevators sighed more than they spoke. Celeste did not approach the desk this time. She marched toward the security corridor as if she owned it. I did not chase. I called Ron. Ron answered fast. She is sniffing around? She just tried the corridor, I said. Ron made a pleased sound. I changed the locks. She is going to hate me. Celeste reappeared, jaw tight, phone pressed to her ear. Her voice carried across the marble. No, I need access now. It is urgent, she snapped. Celeste stormed to the desk and planted both hands on the counter. I need the login for the security system. The recording from earlier. There is sensitive information. It must be deleted. I kept my tone polite. I do not have that access, Ms. Varn. Security manages it. Celeste leaned closer. You used to push a mop. Do not pretend you are above instructions. I blinked slowly. I am not above instructions. I am simply allergic to illegal ones. Celeste straightened, forcing a laugh that sounded like a snapped thread. Fine. I will handle it myself. She turned, but the elevator opened and two people stepped out. Inez Park from compliance and Malik Shore from corporate security. They walked with calm. Ms. Varn, Malik said, we need a word. Celeste smiled too brightly. About what? Inez lifted a tablet. About harassment, an order to sabotage a coworker, and an attempted access to protected footage. The system logged your requests, and it also logged your attempt to reach the security terminal on your floor. Celeste waved a hand. This is ridiculous. She spilled coffee and wants a story. I stood. Your junior executive spilled coffee on me. Then she told me you instructed her to do it. Kira stepped into view, pale but steady. That is true, she said. She told me to do it. When I apologized, she laughed. Celeste opened her mouth, then closed it. Inez tapped the screen. The lobby filled with Celeste's voice, crisp and unmistakable. Do what you are used to and clean it up. Then came the laugh, cruel. Celeste lunged forward. Turn that off. Malik stepped between them. Ms. Varn, do not. Celeste hissed. This is entrapment. Inez tilted her head. No, this is documentation. You did the speaking, the building did the listening. Ron appeared at the corridor doorway, arms crossed, wearing the satisfied expression of a man who enjoys functional locks. Malik nodded toward him. Facilities preserve the local copy after the system flag. Tampering with evidence is grounds for immediate termination. Celeste stared at Ron, then at me, as if looking for a crack in reality. Her confidence drained, leaving only rage. You are all going to regret this, she said. Ron smiled. Where is your mop? The words landed like a gavel with a punchline. Malik escorted Celeste away. Her heels no longer sounded like power. They sounded like a bad decision echoing down a hall. When the lobby settled, Inez turned to me. We will need a formal statement. Also, We reviewed your performance. You have been doing work well beyond your role. I nodded. I have had practice doing more than I am paid for. Inez smiled. That ends now. Soon after, Kira kept her job and gained a backbone. Celeste's name vanished from email threads like a stain finally lifted. And I, the woman who once cleaned the shadows of power, was offered a new position in operations support, with a salary that did not require hunger as a roommate. I accepted with a steady hand. Revenge, I learned, did not always need flames. Sometimes it only needed a camera, a clear voice, and the patience to let arrogance talk itself into a corner.